Hello, everyone. We'll get started in just a few minutes. Want to give a little extra time for people to sign in. Hello and welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for joining today's webinar. Today we'll be discussing IoT technology for CDC VFC compliant vaccine monitoring. Just a couple of housekeeping things before we get started regarding the webinar logistics itself. If you're unable to hear me, please check your audio settings. You can see it here in your sidebar. If you do have any questions today, please enter them in the question box. I will answer as many as I can at the end of the webinar. If I'm not able to answer everybody's question, I will have a record of all of them and I'll be able to respond directly to you via email after the webinar is completed. This webinar is being recorded and will be made available to everyone on our website. In addition to that, if you look in the handout section of the side panel, you'll find a PDF copy of this presentation. So today, we're going to be discussing VFC CDC regulatory requirements, which is basically the why of what we're doing. Why are we doing all this? What are we required to do? Why is it in our best interest to do it? Some of the challenges around vaccine monitoring, both from a regulatory and business perspective. Some of the alternative monitoring methods that are being used today. Benefits of an IoT Bluetooth solution. Our specific InTemp solution, the InTemp product highlights, and then I will be giving a short demo of the InTemp Connect Cloud platform itself so you can better see some of the features that we offer. So to start, again, I want to discuss the why. Why are we doing this? Why are we required to do this? And to give you a good framework of it, I'm going to go over the different regulatory requirements from two different bodies that apply directly to vaccine monitoring. At the highest level, you have good distribution practices. And other parts of the world, they are combining good distribution practices with good manufacturing processes and call it GXP. So I think everybody's starting to move towards GXP instead to combine the two to cover end-to-end monitoring of a pharmaceutical product or a vaccine. It is much broader in scope. In the United States, it is enforced by the FDA. These are the overarching guidelines for drug and vaccine storage and transportation. So obviously today we're going to be really focusing on the storage aspect of it. But again, GXP does relate to some of the requirements that you are required to follow. GXP does allow for a larger array of monitoring solutions where you'll see the CDC VFC guidelines are much more specific. It requires qualifications and validations of your units and your processes. And it's regulated via both external and internal audits. So that applies to just about every customer in the life science and healthcare space. Everybody gets audited from time to time by external body, regulatory bodies, and of course, a lot of times they require reports from you. So that's pretty universal. To go more specifically into CDC VFC guidelines, again, these are guidelines that are a subset of GXP regulations. So VFC really bases its regulatory requirements off of the CDC guidelines, which again are a part of GXP. And this is really at the patient storage level. So right before a patient actually receives a pharmaceutical product or a vaccine. It's focused on specific monitoring solutions and handling guidelines for vaccines for children. So, of course, there could be other vaccines that you're monitoring that is not under the umbrella of the Vaccines for Children program, but a lot of times you still follow the CDC guidelines around that vaccine monitoring. And for VFC customers in general, this requires regular data submissions to the CDC. So that's every week, you got to send them a report of all your data loggers to show that all your vaccines have been kept in a suitable environment that would prevent spoilage or prevent harm to one of your patients. So again, the why of it all. Why are we doing this? Why are we required to do this? Obviously, for the healthcare industry, the #1 priority for everybody is their patients. You want to make sure that your patients are safe and that they are getting the treatment that they require and that the treatment that they're given actually works. And that obviously applies to vaccines. If you do not monitor and keep your vaccines in a suitable environment, those vaccines could either not work or become harmful. And that's the last thing you want for your patients. So #1 priority there. But beyond that, there's obviously very good business reasons to do this. You don't want to lose vaccines. You don't want to waste product. You don't want to have to go through the insurance of getting new vaccines because all your vaccines went bad. You don't want to have to think about litigation because a vaccine caused harm to somebody. So there's a lot of reasons why we do this. And the purpose of today's webinar is really to show you how the InTemp solution can not only meet these regulatory requirements, but also give you additional value to meet your business needs. So to go into the VFC CDC requirements in more detail, here's a list of what's actually required by the Vaccines for Children and what they recommend in addition to that. So what's required is dedicated continuous data logging. You have to constantly monitor these vaccines. And this isn't just for healthcare, right? You have to monitor a pharmaceutical product from beginning to end, when it's manufactured, while it's being transported, while it's being stored, all the way up to the point it gets to the patient. So again, that's where you start to see a combination of GXP and CDC regulations combined. It requires a certain level of accuracy for the data loggers. So we're talking about plus or minus 0.5 degrees Celsius for specific temperature ranges. It requires traceability. So a system that tells you who's doing what, who's performing downloads, are you actually checking your loggers for alarms twice a day like you're supposed to? It has to have some type of traceability with it. Alarming and excursions. So of course, you need to know if something's going on with your refrigerator or freezer, whatever you're storing these vaccines in. You need to know if an alarm is occurring and react to it to decide whether or not the vaccines you're monitoring are still good or if they need to be disposed of. A probing glycol is required so that it mimics the actual environment that a vaccine is in. So you put the probe in the middle of a bottle of glycol, just like a vaccine is in a 5 milliliter bottle. It has to have reporting capabilities, and it has to have a low battery indicator. In addition to that, VFC CDC guidelines recommend a few different things. They recommend having a logger that has easily adjustable settings. So being able to program it to monitor the different conditions of different vaccines. Not all vaccines are the same, right? Some of them require frozen, some of them require refrigerated, and even within those categories, they might be different. One might be a very strict 2 to 8 degrees Celsius limit, while others might be a little bit easier to monitor and might be more like 0 to 15 degrees Celsius. You want to be able to make sure that you can adjust your loggers to meet the different needs of the different vaccines that you're monitoring. They recommend that it has a digital display, essentially managed database, so that all the data is going to the same location. You can access it from the same location, produce reports and analytics. Have data export and reporting tools, and automated email and text alerts for excursions so that you could be made aware of alarms immediately. So again, it's not just about regulatory requirements. Obviously, you have to follow regulatory requirements, and it's in your best interest to protect your patients, to protect yourselves, to protect your business. But beyond those regulatory requirements, there are some additional business challenges associated with monitoring these vaccines. So in terms of regulatory requirements, of course, it is a challenge in of itself to continuously monitor those temperatures, especially when you're not on site. So having remote capabilities makes things a lot easier for you. Reporting and audits can be a challenge, making sure that it has the correct data and the correct format and that it meets the needs of the CDC and VFC program. Potentially qualifications, validations that might be required for the refrigeration and freezer units that you're using. And then, of course, the very specific challenges of the CDC requirements, having the right equipment and following the correct processes to meet those guidelines. Then there's the business challenges, the other side of things where you're really benefiting your own business. One of the things I hear the most within the healthcare industry is that training is the #1 challenge. Healthcare has some of the highest turnover in any industry that there is. People are coming and going all the time. There's always new people. Training becomes a challenge for that reason. Finding a solution that really minimizes training is something that a lot of people are looking for, something that really utilizes automation capabilities so that whatever training there is, it's very minimal and easy to do. General cost reduction needs, excuse me. So obviously there is costs associated with monitoring these vaccines. There's time spent, especially if there's excursions. So how do we reduce the costs associated with that? There's documentation. You have to worry about litigation if something does go really wrong and a patient is given a bad vaccine. And then, of course, there's just general internal QA compliance. So your own business requirements that can make things even more challenging, even though they are necessary. So to meet the needs of the regulatory requirements and your business needs, there's obviously a lot of different options out there that you can choose from. And some have some benefits that really stand out to you more than others, and others just don't work for you at all. And now I'm going to kind of just go over what the different traditional options are and then go into what our solution is. Historically, USB loggers have been the most favored type of monitoring option, but there's a lot of downsides to that. Yeah, USB loggers are definitely cheaper than just about every other option out there, but the amount of costs associated within the processes of using USB loggers itself is actually pretty significant. So there's just monitoring in general. In order to use these USB loggers and manage them, you're going to have to program them manually, take them out of the fridge, plug them in a computer, download them, get the report, modify the report as necessary, and send it to whoever you need to. It's a lot of steps there. These loggers can be limited and difficult to program, so most competitors will require you to give them the specifications up front, so what's the min, max logging interval, and you really have no ability to change that after. They don't offer a battery replacement, so you have to buy a new logger or replace it every so often. There's no options for remote monitoring, and that's again one of the key things that we're looking at today. How can I reduce costs by doing everything remotely and not have to be on site and go through all these manual processes? And then they typically have complicated recalibration programs. A lot of customers will have to buy multiple data loggers for the same unit because with the recalibration program they're on, they'll have to send their loggers to the vendor, have them recalibrated, and then get them back. So if they don't have a backup, then there's that gap in data, which you really can't have, especially under VFC CDC requirements. So that's the USB side, and I think you can see that even though they are cheaper products, there is a lot of additional process costs associated with them. And if you really think about alarming and remote, the ability to get alarms remotely and be notified of them remotely, you can see how there could also be a lot of additional spoilage costs. By the time you get on site, download those loggers, and then find out that there's an alarm, it might be too late. The product might already be bad and you had no time to react. So that adds to the cost of using USB loggers. Less common, you also have Wi-Fi and cellular. Those tend to be very expensive options, however, and they can be difficult to use. So Wi-Fi and cellular both rely on the dependability of their network. They typically have a difficult initial setup. So think Wi-Fi and think about network requirements of a hospital. Usually hospitals have some of the strictest Wi-Fi network requirements there are because they need to protect patient data, and bringing in a outside device and putting on that network can be challenging. So if you're using hundreds of Wi-Fi loggers and you have to get every single one of those up and running on the network, that can be pretty time consuming and difficult. There usually is a costly initial hardware investment associated with these loggers, and especially with cellular loggers, there typically is expensive annual plans for data uploads. So while these might have more automation capabilities compared to USB loggers, they tend to be more complicated and costly. And now for our solution, the Bluetooth IoT alternative. We truly believe that this is the happy medium, the medium between costs and functionality and value. So with Bluetooth loggers, you're still looking at a relatively low cost option comparable with USB loggers. Yeah, naturally they'll be a bit more expensive than USB loggers because it has more technology built into it. but it's usually not that much more, and it's definitely nowhere near a cellular logger. You get remote automation capabilities when you start using our loggers with a gateway. And that is the key to our solution. That is what's going to really help you to meet all these regulatory requirements and to overcome the business challenges that we just discussed. And I'll get into more detail about how this really meets all these different challenges in just a bit. But with the gateway, you have an option here. You can put it onto your Wi-Fi network, but you can also use Ethernet, which is typically an easier solution. And the nice thing is, it's just one unit. So it's one gateway to connect with several loggers, as many loggers as you want, really, as long as they're in range of the gateway. So when I say in range, we're talking 100-foot range. We usually say keep it under 75 feet just to ensure connection. But as long as they're in range, you can have as many loggers connecting to this one gateway as you want. So when you're setting things up, even if it's Wi-Fi, it's just the one device you're setting up. You get flexible touchless solutions with our different mobile apps. So not only can you use a gateway to manage loggers, upload data, and produce reports, we have mobile apps to do that as well. They're easy to program and use. So unlike a USB logger where you really can't change the settings on it, you can change the settings of our loggers at any point in time. You can change the min and max, how frequent it records data, and anything else you need to change in order to meet the needs of your own monitoring processes. So it's a highly customizable solution, and you'll start to see the customization options within InTemp Connect when I start to show that in the webinar. And then you have a more reliable connection. So Bluetooth is not relying on the dependability of your network. It's just that Bluetooth connection between the logger and the gateway or the mobile device. Again, as long as you're in range, you're going to get that reliable connection. And then I'll discuss the capabilities of the gateway in terms of Wi-Fi and Ethernet connection, especially if your network goes down or if you have power outage. So to give a high-level picture of our solution, I think this is a really good image to show how this all works together. You have our Bluetooth loggers, which will communicate with our gateway or with a mobile device if you're using one of our mobile apps. So those devices will communicate with the loggers via Bluetooth. And the great thing is about the solution, especially with our CX400 series, these are all battery operated. The 400 series use AAA batteries. So you don't have to worry if your power goes out. These aren't plug-in devices that rely on a power outlet. If power goes out, these things are running independently. So it doesn't matter if power goes out or if your internet goes out, your loggers are still collecting data. And as soon as your power or network comes back on, your gateway knows exactly what to do. Your gateway knows to check every single one of the loggers in range. It will download any alarms that might have resulted in a power outage, and it will take in any commands that it missed during that power outage. So if you sent a command to the gateway during that time, it's going to see that, it's going to pick it up, and it's going to execute those commands as soon as power or the network is back on. So in that way, we are ensuring 100% data recovery, even if you have a power outage or a network outage. The gateway and the mobile device will then obviously send the data up to the InTemp Connect Cloud, which is your centralized database solution, which again was one of those recommendations that the CDC VFC was making. So all your data is going into one place. You can access it from one location, get your analytics, produce your reports, and do whatever you really need to do. The data will be sent up from those devices. If you're using the gateway, either Wi-Fi or Ethernet, again, Ethernet making your life a little bit easier as long as you're close to a port. And then with the mobile devices, obviously you can set it up via Wi-Fi or cellular connection. So some of the highlights of the InTemp solution. are that we are again using Bluetooth technology for a more secure connection. It has that centralized data storage, and a key part of our solution is that it is 21 CFR Part 11 compliant. This is an absolute requirement from both GXP and CDC. The equivalent in the EU is Annex 11. They're interchangeable. Annex 11 allows 21 CFR in its place. And basically all it is the data integrity. So of course it talks about usernames and passwords, but what it really focuses in on is that nobody has the ability to delete or alter the data within the system at any point, not on the loggers, not in the mobile apps, not in the cloud. This is so that when an auditor gets a report and starts reviewing data, they can be completely sure that the data they're looking at has been unaltered. So that is another highlight of the solution. Automation, again, is the key thing. As I mentioned before, training is one of the biggest challenges for healthcare customers. Lots of people coming in and out, new employees constantly need to be trained. You don't want an overly complex system that is going to require tons of training. And the best part about our system is if you're able to take on or do all the required settings to automate the system, you can effectively fully automate it so that any doctor, nurse, or anybody who's on site on a daily basis doesn't have to do a thing. They don't have to worry about it. The logger downloading and programming and restarting is all automated by the gateway. Alarm notifications are automatic. Reporting is automatic, so you get regular reports or you get reports whenever an alarm occurs. So again, you can make this a truly fully automated system as long as these settings meet the needs of your individual business. And then lastly, of course, we have the mobile app. Now, a lot of customers will ask, is it one or the other? Do I only use the mobile app or the gateway, or can I use both? You most certainly can use both. And a lot of times that's what our customers do. So the gateway does all the automation, where the mobile app has no automation whatsoever, but allows you to do off-schedule activities. So if you needed to do something before a gateway takes action, you can use the mobile app, or you can do things remotely, and I'll discuss those features a little bit later. But you can use the mobile app to download your loggers, produce and send reports, and whatever you need to do, as long as you're in range of those loggers. So again, it's Bluetooth. You need to be in range with the mobile app, and then you can do whatever you need to do. So with the mobile app, as long as you're signed in under the same InTemp Connect account when using that app, all the data will go to the same location. Gateway will send it to the same location. The mobile app will send it to the same location. So to go into a little bit more detail about the CX5000 Gateway, again, this is your automation device. So the gateway does work on a schedule, and you get to customize that schedule. You say when a download should occur and what different circumstances a download should occur. So you can tell the gateway to download the loggers every 12 hours, every day, every week, or every month. And then you can also tell it to download loggers under certain circumstances. And the key thing here is with alarms. If an alarm occurs on a logger, that logger will put out this flag, an advertising flag, and the gateway will see it immediately. And that gateway knows to download that logger immediately, regardless of the schedule it's on. It'll download the logger, send the data up to the cloud, and then the cloud would take over from there and send you your email or text notification to let you know that this alarm occurred. And all this happens within minutes. So you are truly being notified of an alarm immediately so that you have a proactive solution, unlike USB loggers where you don't find out about these alarms until you get on site, you download them, and you take a look at the data. By that time, again, the product might be bad. With our solution, This gives you a chance to fix things before your product goes bad. It reduces spoilage, and it also helps to alleviate some of the costs associated with just general monitoring. So you get these notifications, you call somebody who's on site and say, hey, could you check out what's going on? You might find out that an inventory count is happening or the power went out, something like that. And you have a chance to save these vaccines before they go bad. You can get reports through the gateway. So again, the gateway will perform automatically scheduled downloads and off-schedule downloads of alarms. And through our notifications feature, you can get the reports for every single one of those downloads. So if you don't want to or can't go into InTemp Connect at that time, you don't have to. You'll get the report and everything you need in an email at that time. So again, the gateway is your automation solution. If you don't have a gateway, then you lose out on all those different benefits. Data customization. We have something called trip fields. It's an industry standard term, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because it has nothing to do with trips. It has nothing to do with shipments or shipping a product. What trip fields are is simply data tags. And these data tags are a really important, powerful tool that we encourage all of our customers to use. And there's three main value points to using these data tags. First one is it allows you to identify your loggers. So imagine you're part of a 100 hospital clinic network and you are responsible for just one clinic. If you get a report and you see that serial number 1234 was alarmed, you're going to sit there and say, I have no idea what this logger was. So using these data tags is going to fix that issue. You can create as many data tags as you want and apply as many data tags as you want to an individual logger so that when I see the report, I can see things like serial number 1234 belonged to Clinic 1, was located in pediatrics, room B, and refrigerator 1234. You know exactly where that logger is, and you can, again, react quickly and take any actions you need to save your vaccines. The second value point is for business reasons. This will allow you to organize and group your data in ways that you need to see it in order to make business decisions. So a good example is, again, a 100 clinic network. You can group your data to compare the different clinics against each other. So you might see that Clinic A had a few different alarm excursions, but Clinic B had hundreds of them. Right then and there, you know that you need to reach out to Clinic B and see what's going on. How can you help them? Is something wrong with the refrigerator? Do they need a new one? Do they need help with training or processes? You can then know exactly who you need to reach out to and help. So it has business implications as well. And the last value point is it allows you to ensure that the correct data goes to the correct people, and that's through our notifications. I'll go into more detail about that when I start talking about notifications. And then you have reports. So not only will you get standard reports through the gateway and through the app, you can also customize reports, and you can see multiple loggers, multiple configurations in one report and really start to make those types of decisions we were discussing before. You choose what data you want in the reports, how you want to organize and group that data. They select multiple analysis types. And the nice thing, especially for VFC or just healthcare customers in general, is we have this feature that allows you to add annotations to the report. So you can add an annotation which will show up in both the graph and in the audit sections of the report and say things like, here was a temperature excursion. This is why the temperature excursion occurred. This is what we did in response to it. And those notes will show up directly in the report so that when an auditor sees an excursion, they have the full story right then and there. And then you can add as many annotations as you want to explain that. So not only can you create custom reports, you can also automate them. So again, this is a highly customizable and automated system. You could take those same customer reports that you're creating and say, you need to create it every single week or every month, and you don't want to have to create it over and over by yourself. Take those custom reports, put it on a schedule. The system creates it for you and emails you the report directly so that you don't even have to worry about that anymore. So in summary, the InTemp solution provides a fully CDC VFC compliant solution, and I will show the logger itself and explain how it meets the other requirements of the VFC program in just a bit. But in terms of the solution overall, it fully meets those requirements. There can be little to no retraining required after the initial setup. It helps you reduce spoilage and monitoring costs, and it does that through all these automation options. You get simplified documentation with customizable and automated reporting options. And another key piece of the system is you have customizable user permissions. And you'll see this when I go into the cloud demonstration, but every single piece of the cloud system and the mobile app has an associated privilege, meaning you dictate who is able to do what within the platform, within the solution. So if you don't want somebody performing a certain activity, you can limit that. And then beyond the solution itself, we offer a great suite of services. So we offer free live trainings. We have one every single week, and it's 2 different trainings that alternate from week to week. We have the InTemp admin training, which shows you how to set up the InTemp Connect Cloud account. And then we have the basic user training, which really goes more into detail with the app, how to configure your loggers, how to download them. Those trainings, again, are live. They happen every week. You can sign up for them on our website, free to attend. In addition to that, we have plenty of resources for you on our website. And then we have a dedicated tech support team. So if you got everything set up, you got your loggers running, and you start running into issues where a logger's not working properly or something is wrong or funky in the system itself, you can contact our tech support team and let them know that, hey, you're seeing some issues here, and they will work you through it. They'll help you out. And then if there is actually something wrong that we need to fix, they'll keep you updated in terms of that fix. So now I'm going to go into the individual devices and their capabilities, and again, how it meets the needs of the VFC program. I'm really just going to highlight 2 loggers here, but focus on the CX402 VFC logger. That was the logger we built specifically for VFC CDC regulations. So you can see in the top image there's a probe and glycol. The probe is detachable. It has an LCD screen, which was a recommended setting. It shows you alarms. It has an audible as well as a visual alarm, current temperature. There's a battery meter on the LCD. It has everything that the CDC and VFC program required and recommended. This logger has been endorsed by multiple state VFC programs, and it is a multi-use logger. So it's not a one and done. You can use it as many times as you need to, and the loggers last for 6 years. It also comes with a NIST calibration certificate, so a certificate of accuracy that lasts for 3 years. That 3 years is, again, a recommendation made by the CDC and VFC program. So that means you get these loggers recalibrated every 3 years, you do it once, and that lasts you 6 years, and you can use it as many times as you want throughout those 6 years. The great thing about the recalibration program for the VFC loggers specifically is we offer a swap out program. This is very unique within our market, within the data logger market. We really don't see this with a lot of other vendors. And the way it works is you put in a request for recalibration, we send you a logger first, and then you send your logger back to us. That prevents you from having to purchase additional loggers and make sure there is no gap in monitoring. So that's a really nice program that we offer for the VFC loggers specifically. For all of our other 400 loggers, we use the more traditional recalibration program that we see our competitors use. So that's where you send it back to us, we recalibrate that specific logger, send that same logger back to you, and that's where you have to consider potentially purchasing additional loggers so that there's no gap in monitoring. These loggers do have AAA batteries, so it's simple enough to unscrew the back and pop in some new batteries, so you never have to worry about buying a new logger just because the batteries died. The other logger I want to highlight here, which doesn't have too many details, is the bottom image there is our CX405 logger. This is a relatively new logger that we built specifically in response to the COVID pandemic. So again, we paid very close attention to what the CDC and VFC was saying for monitoring vaccines specifically for COVID. And knowing that a lot of those vaccines need to be kept in dry ice conditions, we built a logger that met all the requirements that the CDC and VFC were saying were specific to COVID monitoring, and put on a probe that allows for dry ice temperatures. So you get all the benefits of that LCD plus a probe that can go to dry ice temperatures. So if you do still have COVID vaccines and are giving those out to your patients, this is a good option for you. We have the CX5000 gateway. Again, that's your automation device. I'm not going to go into too much detail here other than to say we do have a very secure system. All of our data is encrypted while at rest and while in transit, so you can be sure, again, that your data is not altered or corrupted at any point in time that it's going through our system. And then there's the InTemp Connect platform itself, which I'm going to give you a quick demo on at the end of this. So this is a free solution. You do not have to pay to use InTemp Connect. You do not have to pay to use our mobile apps. There is no yearly fees associated with it. There is, however, a yearly fee associated with our gateways. The nice thing is it is a very inexpensive yearly fee. It is $50 a year. That's it. $50 a year per gateway. We do have bulk discounts. So if you buy a lot of gateways, you get a bulk discount with that yearly fee. But it's very cheap in comparison with a lot of the other solutions we see out there that charge you just for the use of their cloud platform. So this gives you the option. If you don't want to use a gateway, you can just use the mobile app and the InTemp Connect cloud platform, and that's a completely free solution. But keep in mind, without the gateway, you lose all those automation benefits, which are really key to the solution. But even if you do a gateway, again, that yearly fee is very minimal. And then, of course, we have the mobile app. So again, you can use a mobile app with a gateway. It allows you to do everything you need. You can download a logger, program a logger, get reports, and send reports. The only thing it does not offer is all the automation benefits of the gateway. So with that, we're going to go into the quick demonstration of InTemp Connect. And it's very easy to create an InTemp Connect account. Again, it's free. You can just create an account here. All you need is your first name, last name, and email. That's all we require for all users who are using the system. So you don't have to worry about things like having really sensitive data in the cloud platform. So no patient data, no credit card information. All it is really just first name, last name, and email. That's all that's truly required. Now, if you want mobile notifications, text notifications, you will have to put in your phone number as well. But again, this is a very secure system. Everything is encrypted and is very difficult to access. So again, just to give you a quick demo here to show some of the solutions. Here is the main page you log into with a very robust search feature, which you can use to create saved searches. And those will be a big part of creating your custom reports. Here's all your downloads and your data. You can click into any one of these, look at the graph, add your annotations here, and add as many annotations as you want. Look at the config, start, stop, download date, your summary statistics, and so forth. So you have a really good high-level view right here. To get additional data, more specific data, to see, point by point what were your temperatures, you can export the report right here. Now again, if you're using the gateway or the app, you'll get those reports automatically. You can view the report right then and there, but if you need to go back, look at a specific report and you don't want to search the emails, you can export it right here. And you can also download your certificate of accuracy right here. So we do send hard copies with every order, but if you lost it, don't want to look for it, you can go straight into InTemp Connect and re-download that certificate of accuracy. So if you want to create your custom reports, you can come here to Report Builder. And again, that will allow for multiple devices in the same report, allow you to make additional analysis, allow you to organize your data the way you want to see it. And here's where that business value comes in. I can organize my data by clinic name. And again, I can start to see things like, is Clinic 1 experiencing a ton of alarms versus Clinic 2 and 3 who is experiencing very few alarms? I know who to go out and help immediately. So this is how I create all my custom reports with the data I want to see and in the way I want to see it. And then again, I can automate these custom reports by using the report scheduling feature. Again, utilizing a saved search, filling out these selections, and then entering an email address, I can then get these customized reports sent to me on a schedule that I want. I can get a monthly report, a weekly report, whatever I want, and at the time I want. So again, our solution is not only highly customizable, it is highly automated. Here is the data tags I was mentioning before, and as you can see, I've created several. You can create as many as you want, and that will help you meet the needs that I described before. So identification, business value, and ensuring the correct data gets sent to the correct people. And you can apply as many of these data tags to an individual logger. Then there's notifications. This is where you're going to ensure you're getting alarm and report notifications when you need it. So even though the gateway may be only downloading once a week, it's going to tell you immediately if there is an alarm. And when you do have an alarm, it will then provide you, if you're using the data notifications here, it will provide you with that report so you can make the analysis on the spot and not even have to log into InTemp Connect. And here's again where the trip information comes in to play. So here, if I have 100 clinic network, I'm gonna get an alarm notification for every single logger out there, even though I only manage one clinic. Doesn't make sense. If I use trip information, now I'm only getting alarms for the clinic that I'm responsible for. Those loggers associated with Clinic 1, I manage Clinic 1, that's all the notifications I'm gonna get. In addition to these notifications, we also have the missing gateway alarm. So if you do have a power outage or if your internet network does go down, you will be notified of that. So you can react and say, hey, what's going on? Try to get things back up and running a lot faster, or even go to make sure that you're storing your vaccines in an alternative method so that while there is a power outage, they don't spoil. You dictate when this alarm goes out. It can be after 10 minutes of inactivity, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever you want. So you can be notified as soon as you want to be notified. If you don't want to use a mobile app at all, meaning you don't want to go on site to do off-schedule downloads, you can use the features here in InTemp Connect, but you have to have a gateway to do it. So I can download loggers remotely from anywhere in the world as long as I have a gateway. I just use this feature here, select the correct gateway, And I don't have any loggers on me right now, but the gateway would show all loggers that are in range of that gateway. And then you can download any one of them, and you can download as many as you want at once. So you don't have to go on site if you don't want to. You can perform a download at any point in time you want. And that's a key thing, because one thing that we tend to see some confusion about is the system itself is not a real-time system. There's no dashboards in here to show you temperatures in real time. And that's why we set everything up the way we did. It doesn't have to be real time. The gateway notifies you immediately if an alarm occurs, so you don't have to worry about that. And if you do want to see temperatures at any point off schedule, you can use this download feature. You can also program and start loggers remotely. So there's an option to do that here. And then the last thing I wanted to quickly show you was, again, the privileges. Everything in here is privilege-based. So you dictate who can do what in the system and what they can't do. You can see here all the options for InTemp Connect itself and all the options for the InTemp mobile app. And there is a description of all these privileges in the InTemp user guide, which you can find online. So that's the end of the demo. I hope that was really useful to get a better understanding of how the system works, what features that it offers, and how it truly meets all of your regulatory requirement and your business needs, and how it can really help to reduce costs, both with just general monitoring and product spoilage. So this system, again, highly customizable, highly automated. We think there's a lot of benefits to it, especially when it comes to the #1 challenge of training. So we hope that you see all the value in this and will consider us if you haven't already purchased. So with that, I do want to answer any questions that there might be. I'm going to take a look at the question box now and answer some of the questions. During this time, while I'm answering other questions, if you do have one, please enter that question into the question box. And again, if I can't answer it now, I have a list of these. I can access them after the webinar, and then I can respond to you directly via email. So the first question is, so there's no way to check temps when we are not in range? There is, and that's the feature I just showed you in InTemp Connect. You can download loggers remotely and get the report right then and there and view temperatures remotely. So you can do that at any point in time you want. The difference is, we just don't have any real-time dashboards. However, that is something that we are planning to build and create a new feature for. We just don't have it at this time, but we are looking to do it. Second question. On the cloud reporting, can you get a combined report of multiple loggers on one graph? Yes, you can. There is a multi-graph option, and I can actually show that again real quick. And the report custom report builder, if you click on the multi-graph here, which note is just for PDF only, you can see all the loggers in a single graph. And not only that, it would also combine all the data together of all those loggers so that it's all one summary statistics. You can get a high-level view of all your loggers all at once in one report. So those are the only questions I have at the moment. I'll give, oh, here comes another one. Oh, okay. It's someone saying that they were really impressed with the solution and with the Hobo loggers they purchased in the early 90s. So yeah, the Hobo product line is separate from InTemp, but it's part of the same company. I'm glad you really like that product. The key difference between the two product groups is Hobo is not a 21 CFR compliant solution, and not all the products come with a certificate of accuracy. And again, 21 CFR Part 11 is a strict requirement for all regulatory bodies. So that's the biggest difference between the two. If you're monitoring vaccines, pharmaceuticals, you are a life science company of any type, transporting or storing temperature sensitive product, you have to have a 21 CFR Part 11 compliant solution, and Hobo just doesn't provide that. But yes, I appreciate your comment, and it is a great product line as well. Someone saying we have 8 loggers that'd be recalibrating. Will you send us all 8 if they sent back at once? As long as they're VFC loggers, yes, we will send you 8 loggers all at once, or however many loggers you need all at once. If you do have several loggers, so you know, we're talking 20, 30 loggers, so we just ask that you call our customer services department, and they'll work with you directly to get that order placed. But again, the VFC loggers are the only loggers that are part of the swap out program. If it's not a VFC logger, you have to go to the traditional model where you send the logger back to us, we recalibrate it, we send that logger right back to you. Another question, can you go over custom reports again regarding what is included in each data point? What is the cost of recalibration? Yeah, so you can see here that these are the different alarm or report options. So you can get an alarm summary report for all the loggers, what a logger is alarmed, when they alarmed, how long they alarmed, and then you can see it at a higher level to see all the combined total time outside of range, that kind of stuff. Summary statistics will give you min, max, average, standard deviation, mean kinetic temperature, everything that you truly need to use for a quality perspective is in the summary stats, and then it'll group it by the data tags. So it allows you to make that business decision comparison. You get the multigraph and tabular data, which is tabular data is summary statistics per logger or per configuration. So it'll give you, again, min, max, average, standard deviation, mean kinetic for each logger or configuration in that report. In the single device report, so not the custom multi-device report here, you will also get the point-by-point data. So you'll see every single recording in the report, and then you can export that to an Excel if you want to, and do whatever you need to with it. If you want point-by-point data for the custom reporting, you choose this raw data option here, which is Excel only, and then you have a choice between point sync and date and time. Most people choose date and time, so you can see several loggers at once, and you can see every individual recording for all those loggers in an Excel document. So hopefully that covers what you were looking for. All right, so we have a little bit more time. If there's any other questions, I'll just wait a little bit. If not, we'll end it. Yes, sorry, the cost of recalibration. For the VFC loggers, it is $75 per logger, so obviously it's much cheaper than purchasing a new logger. The 405 is more expensive to recalibrate. I think that was, I can't remember exactly how much it was. It was $90 or $100. That's because it goes to such low temperatures, which is much harder to recalibrate. Our recalibration costs are listed on the website. So if you go to the product pages, you can see, or sorry, if you go to the recalibration page on a website, you can get the cost directly in there. But for the VFC loggers, it is $75 per logger. Okay, so I'm not seeing any other questions. Again, if you have questions, you can definitely reach out to us. I provided the sales contact information in the presentation here, which you can download right now in the handout section. You can also find all of our contact information on our website. So if you have any questions, please reach out to us. We're happy to help with anything that you might need, and then make sure that we're guiding you to the best solution possible. So thank you all very much for attending today. It is much appreciated. We hope that you found this very useful. Please keep an eye out for additional webinars throughout the year. You can visit our news page on the website to see what's happening. We do expect to have another one in maybe around August, September regarding our new product. So again, thank you for joining and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.